It's only been in the last few weeks that I've come to understand how wrong I've been, because I know now that you can spend your whole life learning Gotham from deep inside and still know nothing about it at all. Today on the Comic Book Report, Batman, the City of Owls. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and you're watching the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. Today I've got a special treat for you as we look at Volume 2 of the New 52 Batman run in Batman City of Owls. But before we begin, here are a few quick facts about today's collection. Batman the City of Owls was written by Scott Snyder and illustrated primarily by Greg Capullo. The issues in this collection were first published by DC Comics in 2012 and are part of their New 52 era. This standard size hardcover collects Batman issues 8 through 12 and annual number 1 and comes in at 208 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the entirety of the collection, as well as commenting on plot points. You've been warned. And here's our first look at today's collection, Batman the City of Owls. We're treated to a beautiful cover by Greg Capullo. It's just haunting. You got Batman with the silhouette of wings. If you're unfamiliar, this is pretty standard as far as what the New 52 hardcovers were when they were released by volume back in the day. A lot of these collections are still pretty easy to find. These are all standard size hardcovers. They have a nice gloss paper stock and are just generally well put together. No real complaints here. They all look great on a bookcase. If you haven't seen some of my other videos on the topic or are generally unfamiliar, I want to do a quick under the dust jacket look for all of you guys. This is what's under a lot of those standard size hardcovers that the New 52 was releasing. Get a good look there. And now we can go ahead and jump into the collection proper. And wow, can I just tell you, I remember how excited I was when I first received this Volume 2 all those years ago. The Volume 1 of this run, the Batman Court of Owls storyline, was one of my all-time favorite Batman stories, and still is to this day. And I couldn't wait to read the follow-up to get the conclusion of that whole storyline. And I think overall, I wasn't disappointed. Even if City of Owls didn't quite reach the top that the Court of Owls did in my mind, I still think it's a really serviceable story, and you get a lot of bang for your buck for this collection. Just to quickly catch you up at a bird's eye overview, if you're not familiar with Court of Owls, it was a storyline that launched Batman's New 52 run, and it was the same creators of this volume I'm reviewing today. In Court of Owls, Batman basically eventually realizes that there is a secret, clandestine group of individuals that have been orchestrating all the major moves in Gotham City for centuries, known as the Court of Owls. They are an elite and aristocratic group, a secret organization really, that's pulling the strings with Gotham's future. This organization also utilizes the cryogenically frozen ninja-like army of people called the Talons to do their violent bidding. At the conclusion of the previous volume, the Court of Owls elects to awaken all of the Talons and set them loose into Gotham, and that's when this story picks up. During the so-called Night of Owls event, this is the City of Owls. This broader Night of Owls storyline includes a lot of tie-ins with some of the Bat family comics like Nightwing and Batgirl and Red Hood and the like. And while those certainly augment the story, if you want, you can get that Night of Owls collection. This City of Owls does a very good job of continuing the storyline and taking nods at those crossover issues without really needing them here in this collection. I would personally say you could get away with just reading Volume 1, The Court of Owls, and this Volume 2, The City of Owls, and you really have enough to understand the story. And while City of Owls starts with Batman fighting to defend his home against the Talons as they invade the Batcave and discover his identity, we soon are treated to this annual issue that's kind of a flashback story that gives us a new 52 origin for the villainous Mr. Freeze. And while this all happens within that Night of Owls, it's really kind of a standalone story and serves as a kind of interlude within the greater City of Owls story. This annual was co-written with James Tynion and has art from Jason Fabok. Within this issue, you see that Mr. Freeze has a deep grudge against Bruce Wayne, let alone all the hostility he carries unknowingly to the same man as Batman. We also get to know Victor Freeze's mom and the backstory there, and a decidedly different spin on the Victor Freeze-Nora relationship, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but is certainly interesting. As that issue comes to a close, however, it's not long before we're returned to the main City of Owls storyline, picking up after Batman escapes the Batcave. He runs around the city trying to prevent the Talons from assassinating the rest of their targets. This is around the time those tie-in issues come in, where basically the other members of the Bat family and their issues essentially try to stop other assassinations by the Talons on the same night. And that's what I mean when I say they're largely skippable, because Batman is the one that progresses the main storyline, so we follow him trying to stop the last of these targets from getting killed. Before long, however, when he goes to try to confront the Court of Owls, Batman finds that many of the members have been poisoned. There are quite a few more twists and turns, which ultimately boil down to the fact that Lincoln March is in fact still alive and responsible for the poisonings. He shows up in a gigantic owl costume and confronts Batman, claiming to be his brother. In an absolutely incredible storyline that, outside of the annual, which kind of kills the pacing for me a little bit, is just such a wonderful story. I think personally the mystery and psychological kind of horror elements I saw in Court of Owls aren't quite replicated in this volume as much. This one seems to be more focused on the action elements and the resolution of this grander story arc. I think they're done very well, but it didn't engage me to quite the same level as Court of Owls. But for those that have read Court of Owls, this is absolutely a must-read. And I really feel like Capullo's artwork gets stronger and stronger throughout the run. We definitely notice a more commanding grasp on some of these characters, and his Gotham City just feels more and more lived in. After the City of Owls main stories, we also have an issue that has a lot of backstory for Alfred and his father, which has another different artist, I believe. This is kind of a one-shot issue after the fact that is loosely affiliated with some of the Court of Owls stuff. There's a lot of good drama in this issue, and it really is a fun inclusion in this collection. We get a lot of bang for our buck, like I mentioned earlier. We get the City of Owls, we get this annual that feels like a standalone, and we get this Alfred issue. And to round out the collection, we also get an issue starring Harper Row, a woman who later goes on to become Bluebird. You see this character throughout the Snyder Capullo run, and I really love her. She's super interesting, and I like that this story is included in this collection. Like the annual and the Alfred issue, this issue also feels a bit set apart from the main storyline, but that's okay. This hardcover collects the rest of that Court of Owls, Night of Owls event, and a couple of these kind of one-shot stories. It really makes the collection feel so much fuller than it actually is. And now it's time to give this a grade. For its satisfying conclusion to the broader Court of Owls storyline, coupled with a great collection of standalone issues, and of course a Bat-Mech, the Comic Book Report has to give Batman, the City of Owls, Volume 2 of the New 52, a B+. It's really hard to complain about this collection. While I don't think it lived up to the heights of its previous volume, it is very satisfying. And with some of the standalone issues around the City of Owls storyline, we also get treated to a lot of great other adventures and artists. This is the close of Scott Snyder's first major Batman storyline in the New 52, and it didn't disappoint. And while the annual that focused on Mr. Freeze was definitely welcomed, I didn't love some of the changes they made to his origin. And while City of Owls is pretty accessible to new readers, you have to read the Court of Owls before going on to this volume. Though, I think the other Night of Owl tie-in issues are purely optional. Have you read the City of Owls? If you have, let me know in the comments. And until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Thanks for stopping by. please consider subscribing to my channel and check out some of my other videos. Have a good one.